Our bodies are always talking to us. Most of the time, the signals are pretty subtle, and honestly, they're easy to ignore. But today, we're going to look at one really specific signal in men that can act as a crucial early warning for your entire metabolic health. So, let's dive in. All right, let's just get right to it with a question that might be on a lot of guys' minds. When this starts to change, it can be confusing, maybe a little worrying, but it's not random. It is one of the most specific pieces of feedback your body can give you. And look, the answer here probably isn't what you're thinking. A lot of times, it has way less to do with just getting older or stress, and far more to do with what's happening under the hood with your metabolic health. The real culprit is a condition a lot of us have heard of, but maybe don't fully understand in this context. And that culprit? It's insulin resistance. So we're going to pull back the curtain on this thing and see exactly how it works as a kind of silent disruptor inside the body. So first off, what even is it? Well, to put it simply, insulin resistance, or IR, is when your body cells start to kind of ignore the signals from the hormone insulin. Think of it this way. Your cells have basically put on noise-canceling headphones. Insulin is knocking on the door, but they just can't hear it. So what happens? Your pancreas has to basically scream to be heard, pumping out more and more insulin. The result is you end up with chronically high levels of both sugar and insulin floating around in your blood. Okay, so for a morning erection to happen, three major systems need to be working together in perfect harmony. You need good, healthy blood flow from your vascular system, you need precise signals from your nervous system, and you need the right hormonal environment, especially when it comes to testosterone. It's a really delicate biological dance. And this is where the problem really starts. See, insulin resistance isn't some passive bystander. It gets right onto that dance floor and starts tripping up all three of these essential systems at the same time. Let's break down exactly how it does that. So how exactly does this culprit carry out its work? Well, it has this kind of three-step method it uses to slowly undermine your body's natural healthy functions. Step 1. This is the first and maybe the most immediate hit. It's the core damage, and it happens right at the most fundamental level of your entire circulatory system. Yeah, this chart here lays it out so clearly. Look at the left side, the healthy response. Normally, insulin signals your body to produce something called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is basically the gatekeeper for your blood flow. It tells your blood vessels to relax, open up, and let the blood flow through. Now, look at the right. When you have insulin resistance, that signal gets blocked. Your cells can't hear the insulin, so you don't make enough nitric oxide. The gates stay closed, and blood flow is seriously impaired. And you have to understand this is so important. The blood vessels in the penis are incredibly small, so they're often the very first place you'll feel the effects of this impaired blood flow. That's why these changes can be the canary in the coal mine for your overall health, signaling bigger problems like heart disease or type 2 diabetes way before any other symptoms show up. But it doesn't stop there. Damaging your blood flow? That's just step 1. Over time, insulin resistance launches a second attack, and this time it's aimed right at your hormonal system. So these super high insulin levels go after your hormones from two different angles. First, they directly interfere with the cells in the testes that are supposed to be making testosterone. And second, particularly if you have elevated body fat, IR speeds up an enzyme that converts the testosterone you do have into estrogen. It's a devastating 1-2 punch that lowers your free testosterone, which affects not just erections, but your libido too. And then, finally, there's a third effect, a major disruption of your body's natural cycles and rhythms. See, nocturnal erections are supposed to happen during specific phases of sleep, especially REM sleep, which is also when testosterone naturally peaks. But insulin resistance very often goes hand in hand with poor quality sleep and chronic low-grade inflammation. This means your body might never really get into that deep, relaxed, restorative state that's needed for these natural biological rhythms to even happen. Okay, so that's the science, the how behind it all. But what does this actually feel like? What's the signal your body is sending? What should you be looking for? This quote from the source material just nails the experience perfectly. It's not that things suddenly stop working altogether. It's more that familiar, automatic, physical signal in the morning, it just isn't there in the same way. It's a subtle change, but a really distinct one. And that change, it almost always follows a really classic pattern. It's not like a light switch flipping off. It's a gradual decline in quality. Things might be less firm than you remember, or they fade more quickly, they just happen less often. And this slow, gradual nature,
is exactly why it's so often missed or just blamed on getting older, when it's actually a crystal clear metabolic signal.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem, and it can sound a little grim. But now we get to the most important part of this whole conversation, the turning point. Because this is not a one-way street, not at all. And I really want you to hear this. This is the key takeaway. In the vast majority of cases, insulin resistance isn't causing permanent, irreversible damage. It's causing suppressed function. Think of it this way. Your body's hardware isn't broken. The software is just being bogged down by a bad metabolic environment. And that distinction, well, that changes everything.
And because it's just suppressed, that means you can bring it back online? The path to recovery is all about tackling the root causes of insulin resistance head on. That means focusing on the absolute pillars of health, lowering your body fat, getting a handle on your blood sugar and insulin after meals, and making deep, restorative sleep a top, non-negotiable priority. And this is the really cool part, actually. Just like this can be the very first warning sign that something's wrong, it can also be the very first positive sign that the changes you're making are working. This can often start to improve well before your blood tests even catch up, acting as this amazing real-time indicator that you are on the right track.
So let's just quickly wrap this up. The big things to remember are insulin resistance is a direct hit on men's health. This specific symptom is often a very early warning signal. It's a gradual decline, not an overnight failure. And the most important point of all, it is highly reversible.
So we'll leave you with this thought. Our bodies are in constant communication with us. The real key is learning how to speak their language. By understanding an early warning sign just like this one, you can take action, not just to fix one symptom, but to rebuild your health from the ground up. So the question is, what signals is your body sending?